Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Spanning the Need. I'm your host, Anthony Spano. Tonight, we're going to stay local. We're going to talk to the Vice President and General Manager of the Hollywood Casino. Let me take that back. It's the Hollywood Gaming at Mahoning Valley Race Course. Allie, thank you for joining me.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me. Very, very excited.
Thank you. We talk a little bit about the casino. The casino is probably maybe 5-6 years old, a little bit longer.
Yeah, 6 years now.
And I've learned that you guys have had a huge impact on a lot of different organizations locally, from the local business down the street to nonprofits, which you guys are very big on it. And we'll talk a little bit about that just in a general sense down the road. But you've been here about 2 years. 1 year has been in lockup, as we like to say it. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you came from, and kind of how you got to where you are now.
Sounds great. Yeah, 2 years here in the Valley. January of 19 is when I started the job here at Hollywood Gaming. I moved here with my husband, and we live in Poland now, so not too far from the property. Love it here. And like you said, one of the years that I've been here, it was probably the most challenging year of anyone's career, right? Certainly operating a property where you had to go into lockdown. Originally, I'm from Brazil, so the accent comes with the person. I was born there and grew up in Brazil. I moved here when I was 21, and I speak Portuguese. That's my main language. I came to the U.S. for an internship for college at Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida, where I met my husband now. We started dating, and once I finished college in Brazil, I decided to take a chance and move here and be with him, and the rest is history. So I lived in Orlando, Florida for 6 years. I started working in the hotel business there. I went to school for hospitality and travel and tourism, so that made sense. Started my first job as a hotel housekeeper, so clean rooms, and was very proud of that job. Met a lot of great people that opened doors for me over the years. Worked in several different properties there. And then at some point in 2006, I had an opportunity to go into gaming, where I started in Missouri at one of the properties there. Went for an interview as a request from someone that I worked with in the hospitality business in Orlando. Never had seen a slot machine in my life. It was my first time in a casino environment. It was pretty entertaining and scary at the same time. Accepted the job, and I've been doing this in April was approximately, I would say, 15 years since I've been doing this. So
and from what I see, that you love your job.
Yeah, I love it. And I always tell everybody, gaming is very different. People don't usually grow up and say, I want to be a general manager of a casino. It's not typically the career you go after. It wasn't mine either. But when you get into this industry, you just fall in love with it, and then you stay for your whole
life. So you were at Missouri. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Sorry, sorry to interrupt.
No, definitely. So it's quite a long story, but I started in Missouri at one of the properties there in St. Charles. I stayed there for almost 9 years. I started in slots, then I learned table games. I was in casino operations basically the entire time I was there. Then I had an opportunity to move to Council Bluffs, Iowa, where we had a property there as the director of gaming of that property. Had a great time there, a couple of years in Iowa. And then relocated to the Meadows in Pennsylvania, not too far from us, approximately an hour and 15 minutes or so. And I was there for 2 years. We acquired that property, and that was my first general manager job. Took place when I was in Pennsylvania. And then 2 years later, I moved here. So what's next? I'm not sure, but I love it here. This has been a great community to join for sure.
Well, and it seems like, and I've known you since you got here. We've talked a lot, and you see that you're really, and what I like about what you do is you're not just a VP general manager that sits in the office. You're like a VP general manager that likes to get out and talk to their employees and really have a fun time and really making the atmosphere fun.
Right. People is what we do, right? And it starts with our team. Obviously, we service the guests, the customers that come to us. That is our business. We want to make sure you have a great time when you come visit. But that doesn't happen unless you have the right team in place. So for me, it's always about the people. I need to know everything about everyone at all times. I know every one of my team members by name. I meet them on orientation. I make sure that they have what they need. And ultimately, the goal is always to be a leader that people appreciate and that they respect and they want to work for. So that's always the goal. But ultimately, it becomes family. It is about work, but it becomes family. We spend a lot of time at work. And I think a good example was what we went through last year. It's really hard to, go through a pandemic and have to lay off team members and things like that when you actually really do care about people.
Well, and let's talk a little bit about that. You've been here 2 years. One of them's been in a pandemic. Kind of, how has the business tried to handle the pandemic? Like, I know you were probably closed at one time, like a lot of businesses, and I'll say this: you employ a lot. At one time, at probably your peak, you were employing a lot of people. Mm-hmm. How has the business kind of affected you guys through the pandemic?
Yeah, it was tough. I think it was tough for everyone. It doesn't matter the industry you're in, everybody got impacted. I think at some point or another, most people did have to close businesses that were non-essential. So we were closed for 14 weeks. We closed, we were the first property or the first casino industry to close in the country. So Ohio was the first one. We closed on March 13th. It was a little bit over a year ago. And then we reopened on June 19th. So it was several weeks of not being in business. There was only a handful of us that stayed on property for the safety of the property. We were racing at the time when we had shut down. So for an extended period of time, we did have horses on property. It's approximately 900 horses here when we're on racing season. And
wow.
Plus residents. So we have a dorm building in our property where people actually stay and live here. So we had to manage that as well because it's a pandemic and we want the safety of those residents. So our team members had the information that we had to close. We closed on a Friday, had to ask our guests to leave with very little notice. But everybody was very understanding. I think the biggest challenge everyone had is the unknown. How long is this for? What is really happening? So we were able to actually pay our team members for the first 2 weeks for them to be home until we understood what was going to happen to the business. And then we actually went into furlough state where team members received benefits, health benefits paid, but they didn't get a wage. And we stayed in touch the whole time. So I stayed working. We created a Facebook page for our employees and we stayed connected to be able to help people go through unemployment. And in some cases, team members helping each other through difficult times, whether it was, stay healthy when it comes to mental state, right? But also if they needed anything that was essential. So that was pretty fun just to see my team come together and really support each other, which I didn't expect anything less than them because they're just that great. When we reopen, we start calling people slowly. I think we've been, or I would say in this area right here in Austintown, maybe the second largest employer. So we were able at some point to call back all of our team members that were furloughed. We eliminated a few positions that we were able to combine with other properties. But for the most part, team members that were frontline, they were called back. We are actually at a point right now where we need more team members. We're hiring for multiple positions and we need more people to come back. So it's nice to see that they were ready to come back. They were eager to be back. And that was a celebration just to be able to welcome them back in the building.
Just to give people and our viewers an understanding of how big you are employer-wise. So let's start at the peak of kind of before the pandemic, kind of how many estimate people that were employed at your property?
So we vary throughout the year. So we race between October and April. During that time, we employ approximately 80 to 90 team members. And so I would say 350 team members is a good average to have on our property. Right now, we are not that far from that. I would say the positions that we have open would bring us to that number. So we didn't necessarily reduce staffing by design. We started slow because the business was slow. We're happy to see that people are responding well to vaccination. People are feeling safer, and we are able to see the business pick up. But we're still operating at 50% capacity, which means we can only let so many people in the building. But we do have about the same number of team members on payroll, or would like to have them once all the positions are filled.
Well, and in this area, we'll just say 350 people that you employ. That's a solid number. I mean, that's a big, at least in this area.
It's a big family.
Yeah, it's a big family. And one thing that you guys do that I've seen a lot have been, you guys do a lot for the community. You're just not a business here. You invest in the community, donating to great causes, nonprofits. I've seen you donate to almost 20 or 30, maybe more nonprofits in the area. Talk a little bit about what your kind of plan is that you give back to the community, kind of what your emphasis is on that.
Absolutely. So this is a big part of who we are as a company, but certainly who I am as a leader. I think that we spend a lot of time at work, and sometimes I don't have the luxury of free time to be able to support the community on my own. So being able to bring that to the properties where I work and really engage my team to be part of that is what I would say a highlight of the job. What I like to tell people is that when you have your team members engaged in the community and they take pride on the work that they do for your employer in ways of helping others in need, they're more likely to be happier, more fulfilled. And there's a lot that comes with giving back, right? It's not a show, it's not a PR, it's really about being an employer of choice and give the same thing I get from it to my team members. So I think as a company, that's very much stated, but it is something I believe in. It's been a little difficult with the pandemic because donating time and groups of people and being able to recruit my team to go places to do things has not been top of line right now. Their safety is what I'm looking for. But we look for different ways. So we always help with different fundraisers, events, or, where we can write a check. But we're also always looking for ways where we can donate our time and also get our team members involved. So things that we've done during the pandemic and even before that would be our team member dining room always has a giving cause. So we put a Christmas tree or a holiday tree in the team member dining room with a cause, and team members can hang ornaments and bring things to it. So we may help the veterans, or we may help a single moms in needs for kids, different communities, organizations in the community. It might be an animal shelter. So they'll bring food and we'll collect for a period of time and then we'll just deliver those. That's something that we've been doing all year round. We don't stop and we continue to do it now. And then since reopening, a lot of organizations are in need of help, but they're not able to host their big events that they used to do before where we can actually participate. So we were able to work with the Ohio Lottery Commission to authorize us to do a donation on our gaming floor. So we have now two options that our guests and our customers can actually contribute. One of them is at the exit of the building. There is a clear box with a signage of a local organization that they can donate their VLT tickets. Maybe it's a change, maybe it's something that they don't want to cash out.
$2 here or there, stuff like that, probably.
Right, yeah, and we try to do that every quarter. So we started that after we reopened from the pandemic. And then the other one would be our kiosks where the guest goes to cash a ticket. So maybe you have a ticket that is $20.51. At the time that you're cashing out, you can donate your 51 cents to the charities. And we have 4 charities that are local, and they are, even the ones that are more national charities, the funds stay locally here with us. So we've been doing that. We change the charities every quarter. So we put a schedule together for the year. And it's been very, very rewarding because we can give people money, even though it's not necessarily coming from, Hollywood writing a check. It's our guests being able to come together and give back to the community.
And it feels like it's kind of one of those notions is the money comes into the organization as the gaming, and then it goes almost right out in certain ways to the community in some sort, including with what the guests give.
Yeah, what's great, we're so heavily regulated as an industry that even that portion of our business is very heavily regulated. So we make sure that it's very clear and transparent. Other things that we do it sometimes with our guests too, it's like the drives, the toy drive and the holiday. We just finished in March a food drive for the Second Harvest Food Bank, and we do that once or twice a year. So that's always good to see because our guests do not come in with one gift or one can of food. They really donate everything they can, and they do get some back just to have some fun and some VLT free play in exchange. But it's nice to see that they really go above and beyond.
Well, and we talk about how, and I don't think people realize, and I know I've been very fortunate that I've been able to look at a lot of different areas at the casino or at the restaurant, and I think they don't understand how large the facility really is. Like you just see the main floor, but you don't see the dining or the maybe not the oh I just my tongue the banquet facility that's underneath
Mhm.
the restaurant and everything, which people don't realize. So how big is that facility, and what normally can you guys hold under there?
So as an actual building where a fire code number is 2,400 people in the building where people can come and play or come to the restaurant or a banquet, as you mentioned. But there's so much ground, right? Parking lot alone. When you're managing a place, you need to make sure. We just did our parking lot in the end of 2019, and after 5-6 years of weather, as you know, things need to be taken care of. And then we have the racetrack, and then we have the what we call the backstretch, which is the many barns that host the 900 horses, and then the dorms. So all of those areas are maintained at the same level as the areas that our guests see, right? Our team member dining room, our back of house hallways are all decorated and clean, and we take pride on that. So it's not just what the guests see; it's really where we operate every day. There's obviously offices where human resources is, and a lot of security. We have surveillance, a very large surveillance area, and it's just the back of the house, I guess we would call. It's a lot of fun too. It's not just the gaming floor.
It's like give me a golf cart to go from one side of the property to the other, or a horse.
Right. A
And,
horse.
yeah, how have you talked a little bit about kind of you were closed for about 14 weeks and everything. Kind of how did you open up in regards to making patrons feel safe?
So we received, I would say we were very fortunate to be able, as an industry, to work with our governor's office to put together a document that we all agreed and said, this is how we think we believe we can keep our gas and our team members safe. So I'm not going to lie to you, there was anxiety in opening. I wanted to be open, but I was always very scared on how I can keep my team members safe, right? How I make sure that nobody is sick. So that I would say has gone away. I feel good about it. I feel that we can absolutely operate safely. But what we did is implement some of the required regulations that we had, which would be some of our machines are off, so we're maybe only 60% of our VLT machines are on. We do have 50% capacity, so we have counters at the entrance. Every time we get to a certain number, we make sure that it's only one in, one out, which generates a line at times, some of our peak times. And then we implemented some plexiglass between some of the games, at the areas of contact with our guests, the food court or the restaurant check-in and things like that.
Well,
Um,
and go ahead.
mhm.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
signage everywhere, just like every business, right? A lot of signage throughout the property, making sure we remind our guests that we want them to be safe. We want our guests and our team members to be safe. And then we spend a lot of time talking to people, reminding them about masks and reminding them about social distancing. It's a busy place, there's no doubt, but our guests they have been very accommodating, understanding, and they want to feel safe and they want us to remain open. So I think that's been great.
What has been some of the things that you guys are looking at planning kind of for the future? Because we talk a little bit about we don't know the pandemic. We hope. I mean, we're kind of at, I hate to say, like half normal right now because people are getting the vaccines and we're kind of at that level. People are going out. We're outside, which is a good thing. What does that look like future wise? Like, so actually, let me take a step back real quick. Horse racing is when? Because I think people may get that mixed up. Um, Horse racing at your place is when during the year?
So we start in October and we end in April. Every year, mid October to mid April. It takes longer to get started. So horses and residents start arriving. Usually, we start recruiting and all that in August and September. And then the last racing day is usually mid April. This year was April 17th. So that gives you an idea. And then we don't
Is
race during the summertime.
is there any interest in the long run to race in the summer? Because I think a lot of people are now outdoors. The airs are just in general. I'm not. It doesn't matter during pandemic or out. Is there any plans for summer racing?
So it's an interesting question because we would it's a lot nicer to race when the weather is nice, right? But for most people, what they don't know is that the racing industry has its own thing too. So people leave our racetracks, not like they go home and they wait until October. They will go to another track, and the horses will travel from one track to another. So the times that we race, the dates that we race, are actually agreed upon with horse. The horse owners, the community, the racing industry in general, to make sure that we don't have all the tracks racing the same time of the year and no tracks racing when it's cold, for instance, right?
Yeah.
So there is employment for that community throughout the year all over the country. And that's the reason why we don't race all the time. Some tracks do, ours don't, and it's okay because we welcome them back, but they usually just go to the next track and then come back to us when we reopen.
Because I've had that question asked to me at least a half dozen times over the years, and I never knew kind of the reason of it. Because you'd think, hey, let's go outside, let's go racing, and the weather's nice, let's see. Because I mean, racing at 20 degree below zero is maybe not someone's forte.
Right.
So so to get back on the question is moving kind of forward or kind of in the future, what plans do you guys kind of look at, and let's putting the pandemic aside, what are you guys looking for moving forward into the future? Like what are planned? Is there anything big?
Yeah, so we haven't really specifically planned something for, let's say, this summertime or this fall, just because we don't know what's going to happen, right? I think nobody expected the pandemic to last this long, so it's not very responsible of us to be signing up with contracts and agreements for big things. Now, we are always looking for ways to reactivate entertainment. So currently we're under regulations that we cannot have live entertainment on property, but once that becomes, that is lifted, we obviously would look into something like that. We have been working on some small private events where we invite some of our guests just because we have to control crowds, and then they will attend an event where there is a dinner. There might be some kind of fun associated with that. Summertime is always good for us. We have done multiple what we call outdoor concert series. So we'll bring bands, local bands, and have them free in our apron area where we typically race in the summer, but because we're not racing, we can bring a crowd in, or we can have an event like Oktoberfest we've done before, or a comedian come to the property. So all of those are still in play. All of those are still in our agenda for reactivation when we can do that. I think that what we would like to see is for everything to be somewhat back to normal so that we can really quickly reactivate that. We're a big company, so we can bring whatever we want really quickly. We're not just waiting for that to happen. We just can't advertise. We just really can go after that. Now, it's always fun to look forward to parties like New Year's Eve, right? This last year wasn't really what we are used to. For years, I've been doing New Year's Eve at work, and that's the fun place to be. And this year we were open, but it wasn't really a party for many different reasons, but social distancing being one of them, and safety of everyone. So I'm thinking that 2021 into 2022 will be a big year for everyone. We are going to be ready to celebrate and have a big event.
I think everyone will be ready. I think everyone is ready. Yeah. I know we talked differently about what's going to happen, and we got the vaccine, and everyone's hopefully getting the vaccine, or depending on where everyone is on that. But let me ask you this question: let me ask you this: is there any? And I don't know where the state is with this. Is there any things that you know that they may add table games to the state of Ohio? Because right now it's just slot machines. Do you know? I mean, is there any idea or a thought that they would want to bring table games to the state?
So here is something that people sometimes don't understand. They think we don't have table games because we don't want to have it, which is not true.
Right.
Also, a lot of times because people in this area believe that Ohio does not have table games, which is also not true. So there's two things that happen in Ohio. We have the Ohio Lottery Commission that regulates the racinos, which is a property like Hollywood Gaming, Mahoning Valley. So we have a racetrack associated with our property, and we have what we call video lottery terminals, the slot machines that are known for others. But all of these are not games of skills, so only games of chance. Now, there is another body regulator that's called the Ohio Casino Commission that regulates the casinos. So there are casinos in Ohio that are not necessarily associated with a racetrack, and they do have table games. So our company, Penn National Gaming, actually has 4 properties in the state of Ohio. We operate this property where we are at, and then we have another racino in Dayton. And we have 2 casinos, one in Toledo and one in Columbus. And both of those properties in Toledo and Columbus, they have table games, and they're very large properties, and they do not have a racetrack. So 2 different businesses based on regulators, 2 different sets of rules and regulations. Now, could we potentially have table games here someday? I believe there is a future for everything, right? And I think table games is in the future. I don't think it's going to be very, very soon. And I don't think that we are ready as a state to evaluate what the differences are between, the MOU that we have for racinos and so on. But that's the reason why we don't have it today. But we do have other options in the state. We just have to drive a little further.
Well, Columbus is a little too far for me, but I'll take your word for it. But no, I think some people ask that question because you can go down to West Virginia, which is 45 minutes away, and I personally would like to see money stay locally. Because you guys serve such a huge population. It's not like you just you make the money, you make it and then give it back to the community. Shortened version of that, but you give it back. It goes back into the community, which I love.
Yeah, and I think, also being a good employer, taking good care of people that are in the area. Our employees are mostly from here. They grew up here. They live their whole life here. Some of them are retirees that want to work, maybe just seasonal jobs when we are racing, and then they have the summer off to go golfing. We have a lot of that, and that's the fun part. That's what I like when I move from one place to another. I get to know what that really is the culture of the area through the team members, right? So just being a great employer in the area, I think it's important. I would recommend, however, that maybe you take a ride to Washington, Pennsylvania. I know it's not in Ohio, but it's there's a Meadows property there. We race all year round, so summertime you can see racing there. And they do have table games, and it's a property that belongs to our company. So it's a sister property. We do a lot of events together with them. A lot of our guests visit Meadows, and a lot of Meadows guests visit us. When they were closed, because they closed more or twice, we had a lot of people come visit us in Ohio, which was very nice.
How far is that from here?
It's about an hour and 15 minutes from the property.
That's almost a trip to Pittsburgh or Cleveland.
Yeah, exactly. It's not too bad. We also have a partnership with a hotel up there too, which connects to the property. So it's a very beautiful property. I like to invite people to visit just because, they do a good job there too.
Well, Allie, I appreciate what you're doing at Hollywood, and I wish you nothing but the best to continue what you're doing for the Valley and what you guys do as a team.
No, I appreciate you saying that. It's really a great job to have. It's a great place to live. Really, people are very welcoming. Not only the team members who I see every day, but our guests. They're so supportive. And in times like this, where it's very difficult to live your life because you don't know what's happening in a pandemic, that's when you see that people are warm and they're embracing you, and they really getting you where you need to be just from their support. So it's been really good. I couldn't have asked for a better place to be during this time.
I appreciate Allie, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
At the end of every show, I like to have fun with my guests, just asking them some fun questions if you're up for it.
Okay, let's do that.
So usually it's people tell me these questions are tougher than the ones we were just talking about, but it's a test now. So any answer can be personal or professional. There's no right or wrong answer. It's on you. So what's your best accomplishment?
Well, I think I became a pretty, I want to say a pretty good person in a new country. It's not very easy to move after you're an adult and adapt. I do miss my family who lives in Brazil, but I would say the US is my country. I feel I am an American and I am a citizen, so I'm very proud of that. I love this place.
Appreciate it. Okay. Okay. Best memory.
These are difficult questions. Best memory. Oh my.
It gets people to kind of get to know you.
Right, but you should have prepped me.
These are the ones I was told not to prop anyone. They're more fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have so many great memories. Wow. They usually are related to traveling. I love visiting new places, so they're usually related to traveling. But um, I think back to, significant times in my life. I remember moving into my in-laws, soon to be in-laws house with one suitcase one day and feeling scared to meet. I've met them, but maybe being part of their family, they welcomed me, and that was a good memory. Just because if it wasn't for them, probably all of this wouldn't have been possible. But there's so many. It's a tough question.
Okay, no problem. Best experience.
Best experience. Hmm. Uh, there's a time I went to Ireland on a trip and I was able to fly a hawk, and that was pretty cool. I never thought it would be. I just remembered the feeling we were in a forest and they teach us how to do that, and the hawk, the beautiful big bird, just comes flying towards you in the middle of the forest through the trees and lands on your arm. That was pretty amazing experience.
Scary at the same time?
Yeah, it was a little scary because there's very big claws, but yeah.
One of the claws is bigger than your finger.
Right, exactly.
Who would be one of your role models?
Uh, my dad has always been a professional role model. He's a workaholic per se, likes work and still the need to work and to become who you want to be. So he's a great role model. But my husband is a great role model. He's a good, caring person, very family oriented, and I appreciate that from him because I learn a lot from him on that.
Okay. And then the final question, so you could, yeah. If you could choose one person you'd want to meet, past or present, who would it be and why?
Past or present. I used to, so funny. I used to ask this question when I used to do panel interviews for candidates to join our teams back when.
Oh.
And I don't know that I had an answer. I honestly don't know that I had an answer. It's usually not very famous people. There's one person, it's not somebody really, really very famous. Her name is Samantha Brown, and she does some traveling shows, and I love watching her shows. So I just thought it would be a really cool person to sit down and have dinner and talk about traveling, just because that's one of my passions. But nothing too exciting, I guess.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I actually, you went to Ireland. Me and my wife went to Ireland, Dublin, for our honeymoon a couple of years ago, and then went on to Italy. So as soon as we went to Italy, I was as an Italian.
Yeah.
So I'm very tied up in the Italian cuisine. Well, I eat pasta, but that's normal. But
Yeah.
But Allie, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. So stay on. Everyone, thank you for joining us tonight. I hope you enjoyed Allie and what they're doing at the Hollywood Gaming at Mahoning Valley Race Course. So if you ever see her there, she's always around and about. Say hi. But thank you, everyone. For more interviews, podcasts, or announcements, please go to anthonyvspano.com. Everyone, stay safe. God bless. Good night.